The Story of Silk.
I'm so excited, Grandpa!
I'm glad, Cole. Come, let's move to the front.
Yay!
Magnificent, isn't it?
Yes! Who is she, Grandpa?
That's Empress Laiju, the silkworm mother.
The silkworm mother?
Yes, it is because of her that the world knows of silk. I will tell you all about her after the commencement of the festival.
No! I want to know now! How am I to enjoy the magnificence of the festival if I do not know about the person it is dedicated to?
I cannot argue with you on that. All right, I will tell you. You see, once upon a time, in this very land of China lived Empress Laiju. She was the wife of the great Yellow Emperor and was as beautiful as she was artful. But Laiju was not always the Empress. She was a kind-hearted young girl who lived in Xiling in southwest China. Young Laiju's parents were in ill health, and she would tend to them and bring them water and wild fruits from outside.
Here, have some water, Father.
We're so blessed to have a child like you, Laiju. You toil the whole day to keep us.
Father, do not distress over me, for it is my duty as a child. Now, let me quickly prepare supper.
And so, the days would pass just like any other, with Laiju setting out early in the morning to the woods to find fruits and edible seeds. One day, after walking for hours and trying to find fruits, Laiju sat down under a mulberry tree and began to cry as she couldn't find food anywhere and was worried that her parents would starve.
Oh, what am I to do now? I cannot return without food. Mother and Father must be so hungry.
Her crying was so sad and heart-wrenching that a fairy, who was perched on a branch as a bird, felt touched. With her magic, she dropped some mulberry leaves into the ground. Laiju did not take notice of the leaves at first and continued to sob. The bird then alighted on the ground and began pecking on a mulberry leaf with its beak. Puzzled to see a bird eating the leaf, Laiju picked up a mulberry leaf from the ground and chewed on it hesitantly and found it both sweet and sour.
Oh, this doesn't taste bad.
Relieved that the leaf was edible, she gathered some for her parents and made way for home. When Laiju reached home, she let out a horrid wail.
No! Father! Mother!
Laiju's parents were no more. The poor girl was now all alone. Days passed, and Laiju often found herself seeking solace under the shade of the mulberry tree. One afternoon, as she sat under the tree, lamenting to the bird about her purpose in life, she was suddenly startled by an approaching sound. Water! Water!
It's the king! Oh dear, he looks to have gone unconscious from thirst and exertion.
King Shiling's horse stopped near the mulberry bush, and the king dropped to the ground. Water! Water! Laiju at once set for her house and returned after some time with a pitcher of water and helped the unconscious king drink it.
He should be fine at some time. Don't worry. Oh, why am I talking to you? You're a horse.
I am leaving the pitcher here. Tell him to have some more water when he wakes up. You cannot tell him anything. You're a horse, and I am still talking with you. All right. Bye then.
Laiju, you need to stop talking with animals.
Laiju walked home with her head hanging down, unaware that the horse was following her slyly. She came out of the woods and then walked up to her house by the lake. The horse watched from a distance and then returned back to its master, who by then had regained his consciousness. Fusang, my boy, where were you? And who leaves this generous pitcher of water here for me? You know them? King Xiling rode upon his horse and reached Laiju's house. Laiju, who was sobbing bitterly, stood up and, wiping her tears, reached for the door.
Who must it be to knock on my door? Oh! King Xiling!
Are you the kind person who fetched water for me?
Yes, Your Majesty.
Interesting. You help your king and then do not wait to claim reward?
Helping you is my duty, Your Majesty.
Very well. Let me reward you as it is my duty. Call your parents. Tell them the king is here. Laiju's eyes glistened as she pursed her lips. What is it?
My parents passed away a few months ago. I live by myself.
The king, moved by Laiju's plight, palmed her head and said, You do not anymore. I, King Xiling, hereby adopt you as my daughter.
Your Honor!
Call me father. Come, let's go to the palace. And thus, young Laiju became Princess Laiju, who was loved and adored by all. Princess Laiju grew up to be a fine woman who was skilled in archery and political matters too. Under the blessing of her father, King Xiling, she was wedded to the Yellow Emperor and became Empress Laiju. Together, they helped unite China. But that tale is for another time. Coming back to the day when Empress Laiju was practicing archery.
Perfect, Empress. Practice makes us perfect. Indeed. Is my tea ready? Yes, Empress. It awaits you under the shade of the mulberry tree.
Empress Laiju sat down for her cup of tea under the mulberry tree.
A beautiful afternoon it is today. Yes, Empress.
Empress Laiju lifted the cup to her lips when a small object, pasty white in color, dropped into her drink from the swaying branches of the tree overhead.
Oh, what is this? I will have it changed at once.
Wait, I've never seen something like this before.
Curious, Empress Laiju picked the blob from her tree and noticed it was oddly soft. The silky case soaked in her hot tea had softened further, and thin strands shining in the light of the sun had started to come out of it. The Empress made a pull on a loose strand.
Ah, look at it come out. Here, hold it and keep pulling.
The maid pulled at it until it stretched the length of the garden.
Wow, this is marvelous. It is indeed, Empress.
Being an artful and curious person that she was, Empress Liju decided to find the source of the object. She went around the tree to find lots of cocoons fallen in the ground.
Look, identical objects.
Intrigued, she gathered more cocoons from the tree to unravel and work the strands into cloth. When she finished, she had woven a soft and shimmery fabric that was supple to the touch and yet exquisite.
This is so delicate, so elegant.
Excited by her discovery, she thought of telling the emperor about it, but decided that she needed to study the subject further. She spent the next few weeks examining the silk moths. She found that female silk moths lay around 300 to 500 eggs at any one time. These eggs eventually hatch to form silkworms. The silkworms feed continually on a huge amount of mulberry leaves, and it takes around 6 weeks for them to grow completely, at which time they stop eating and begin to raise their heads. That's when they're ready to spin their cocoon. After studying the silkworms for several weeks, Empress Liju came to the conclusion that the worms ate nothing but only mulberry leaves.
It is time I speak to my husband.
Empress Liju went up to her husband, the Yellow Emperor, and told him all about her discovery.
A soft fiber? Dear, what are you talking about? Oh my, this is so soft and superlative.
We can produce it right here in our country. Imagine the boost it will give to our trade.
You're correct. What would you have me do?
Persuaded by his wife, the Yellow Emperor presented a grove of mulberry trees to his wife, where she domesticated the silkworms. Soon, she invented ways to collect large quantities of cocoon fibers into thread and a loom to weave into cloth. Silk clothing was born, and it was an immediate success in the global market. And not just that, Empress Liju encouraged the emperor to spread sericulture, the process of silk farming, across the country. China became the hub of silk production and flourished from its export. In fact, it is said that China rose to prominence in the early years of global trade because of Empress Liju, the once kind and artful little girl from Xiling.
Wow! She is awesome!
Yes, today China produces almost 80% of the silk worldwide.
And it all started with that disruptive afternoon tea.
Yes.